Hey everyone, it's Ed. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Supernote in a different way. So we've talked about PDF planners and how you can use those on almost any device. We've talked about using the template format in the Supernote to use those same planners to kind of incorporate them into your note taking and what the pros and cons of both of those different approaches are. But in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the functionality that the Supernote has built into it in using the calendar feature and using notes and other documents and how you can incorporate that into a workflow to maybe make this process a little bit more streamlined for you. It will really depend on, again, how you engage with the device and whether or not you can make this work for you. There are gaps, so we're going to do the pros and cons. There are things I would like to see the Supernote do, and I know they have it on their roadmap. So hopefully those will be coming down the pike, and we'll see those happen. If we do, then what we'll see hopefully really soon is a device that can be a planner of its own and that can be easily customizable to your workflow. Not to throw any shade on the hyperlink planners, they're great. They have a lot of great material in them. A ton of work goes into them. Just the amount of links and attention to detail is phenomenal. But why would you want to replicate certain things? And I think that's what we're going to look at today. And we'll see whether or not that works for you. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, there's a lot of different options. So again, remember on this channel, what we're looking at is what the organization is for you and how it best fits your needs. So as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Would love to have you as a subscriber. That way you can get new content as it comes out. You'll get notifications. Would also love you to tell your friends. That way we can, grow the channel and really get engaged. And please feel free to comment. Let me know, am I on the right track? Are these useful tips for you? Are these things that you want to know more about? And maybe we can dig deeper into them as we go. So anyway, this is video 3 of 3. Great to talk to you, ready to get into it. So I will see you in just a second. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start with the calendar in Supernote, because one thing that I think is really important is to take the time and talk about some of the productivity tools that already exist in the platform. So this may not be true for every platform you use, but for the Supernote it is. And it really shows the versatility. So we've talked about the other planners that are phenomenal, MDO, ones you can find on Etsy. There are a myriad of them. If you go on Reddit, you will see at least probably 400 planners out there that will fit anyone's needs if they are coming from a traditionally text-based planner to the digital environment for the first time. I think that that is a great way to do that transition. We've talked about the Rocketbooks as kind of a mid-step to that. But here, let's say that you already use Outlook. Let's say you already use Google Calendar and you're in that ecosystem. Well, there are some productivity tools on the Supernote that can help you with that. Remarkable does not have this. Onyx products have the Google Play Store, and so do some of the others, as a matter of fact, whether that be BigMe or some of the other players in the market. But what you have to consider is, how much do you want to have the full Android experience, or do you want to have something that kind of skirts the line between being analog and digital? In this particular case, the Supernote has kind of a niche for that. So, for example, in the calendar, you can integrate your Outlook or Google Calendar with the Supernote, and you can actually have two-way communication back and forth between the two devices. So the idea is that when you hit this sync button right here at the top, this toggle, it will sync the two. Now, one thing it's not really good at yet, and they're still working on, is being able to, it doesn't sync tasks or anything like that that you can also add into Google Calendar. But if you just want your calendar, you want to see what is on your daily schedule. It's a very useful tool. And what you can do is you can create new events here and sync it, and it will show up instantaneously on your Google Calendar, on your phone or other devices. Now, what they don't have is multi-calendar support. So it is really hard if you combine calendars, or if you have calendars that you share with your team, then you won't be able to see those on the Supernote calendar. It's just a limitation of the device. They are working on that, but it's still not here. But as an everyday driver for me, it works really well. And it's really easy to create an event. So you just go here and you say create, and then you can just name that event. So new event. And we'll say this one's an all day event because it's just, or we'll say it's an all day event. That's a little bit easier for purposes of demonstration. And then we'll say okay. So now the next time, and you'll see there's a little dot that shows up that shows that I have an event on that day. But the next time I go to sync, and of course I won't show you on my device, but now it says sync successful. Boom, we're done. Works really well. Also, a really interesting feature, and one thing that is a limitation of the big planners. Remember how I said that everything is all in one place? That's true. And that can also be a limitation. So you'll see I created the MDO and the Get It Done Planner notes on this specific day. So now I can go to any of those right from here. I can click on one of them and go directly into it. It's really a cool functionality. What it does, if you're using this as your planner versus one of these larger planners, is if you have a meeting on a Friday and you take notes and you created that note on that Friday, and let's say you have 5 meetings that day, when you go and you press on that day, you're going to see those notes. Um, I'm hoping that Rada and Supernote allows both date created and date last accessed to be available on this, because then you would truly be able to see them no matter when you needed to. But I get it. I know it's hard to program that in. So if I have to stick with one, sticking with the idea of when it was created is a really useful tool, because I can get a sense. I can go back. I can see that I had X event on this uh, date, and here are the notes that I took that day. So it's really cool. And then again, you can edit your event from here as well. So I could go back in, I could change things around, and then I can add in notes here, and then it would sync back again. So really a cool functionality, a really easy way to kind of see your day. And then you can go to the daily view, and again, same thing. And you can go to an hourly view. Now, one thing to note is you can't write yet on the hourly view. It's just going to show you, kind of your day in a snapshot. And I'm hoping that that gets changed fairly soon. But on every other day or every other piece, we can say, review scenario. Okay. And if we want to erase that, the region eraser still works. You can also just do and undo. You can change your pen a little bit. There's not a lot of customization here, but there is a little bit. So you can write something in a little bit differently. But you can write on anything, whether it's the monthly or the weekly view. You cannot write on the daily yet, and I know that's a big request for some folks out there. So hopefully they do get to that. Now, another interesting thing, especially if it's on the fly. So a lot of times what I like to do is I create my notes in advance of my meetings. So that morning before I start my day, I'll go ahead and create and label and put in the folder structure that I have all of my notes that I'm going to need for that day. Works really well for me. That way, when I'm in the meeting, I can actually just stay on the calendar, hit notes, pops up. I open my note that I need and I'm in it and I take notes and I'm good to go. And then I'm back out again. So it's a really good way to do that. And it works really well. But let's say it's an impromptu meeting. I didn't have anything on my calendar. My boss walks into my office and we just need to have a meeting. So now I can say, okay, I want to create a new note. So I just pick my template. Usually my default is this one here. It is, um, I want to name it. So I just get rid of this and I put new meeting. And then I say save or create. And I was in landscape mode here, so let me get out of that. So now I'm in my notebook. I can on the fly create that meeting. Now, what I would probably do, boss walks in, I do that. I would take the time to put the date on that meeting in parentheses so that I had it. That way it becomes searchable even outside of the context of the calendar because we do have that handwriting recognition going on at the same time. Now I take my notes, here are some notes. I usually write a little bit more legible than this. And so this gives us the idea of how this works. This has all the functionality that we demonstrated in the videos on the planners. You can resize the text, you can add headers, you can add keywords. It's all being recognized in the background. You can export this in Word format or a bunch of different ways. You can add links. You can change up your pins and everything like that. You can add different templates. So let's say I'm here and I'm taking notes. These are all notes. And then I go to the next page, and now I want to do a task list. So I go in here and I go over and I come up and I see a task list. So I take my task list, and now what you'll see that's kind of nice is I have this task list, but my first page is still the same as it was. So the default template is there, and then each one that I create is going to take whatever one that I just previously used. So you'll want to change it back if you want it to be a different format. But so here I can put task 1, task 2, and then I can check those off. Now, again, this is where that whole idea of the meeting planner really comes in handy. I can create a meeting event, but first I can also go here. As a matter of fact, since I'm already in the calendar, I can just exit and I can say, okay, well, we're planning a meeting for, this day. I have no meeting scheduled. So now I can go through the process of, add, or I can just go back to my note and I can go to last open note, takes me directly to it. And I can say, well, let's call this personnel meeting. Forget my spelling here. I can select my lasso tool and I can hit the calendar. And we'll just say that that's a full day meeting. Now you'll see that what we've got here is not only do we have our new meeting, we created that new note. If we go here, what you'll see is that that new note I created is going to be on the date that I created it. So you'll see right here that I created two different notes. and I can open either one of those directly from there. Now here's where you get the full functionality of the planner or of the notes. Um, and you can link to another note, you can link to another document. So if I create a link, and let's say we want to go to a recent file. Let's say we want to go to the MDO template. So let's go to the template. And now that is a hyperlink. So when I click on that, or when I press on that, yeah, I actually give it a press. Once you give it the press, it's going to go, and again, this is a larger file, so it's going to open it right up when it gets there. And there we go. It opened it up to where we were before. So it's really a cool functionality as far as, how things work. And then down here at the bottom, you'll see this little back arrow. So now I can go directly back to where I was. You can see how this could be really interesting. So if you had a meeting agenda, you could say, okay, well, this is my meeting agenda. And I go to this each time and I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going through the different components. Okay, let me go back, take some notes. Now I'm taking notes on all of this. And it just works. It works in my workflow. And I could create several of these buttons. One could be for a specific notebook or a specific meeting earlier on that I'm referencing, or a to-do list that I had used previously, or some notes, or to a website or a Google Doc. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this to make it work in a really interesting way. And again, all of this is being recognized in the background. Now let's say that you want to say, here is some more writing. And then you want to be able to share this out. You can export this as an image file, a PDF, text, or a Word document. So let's say that you are wanting to do this as a Word document. The note still stays as it is. It doesn't change. You still have your handwriting. You still have the note as is in the note file. But when you export that note, and this is going to be a pretty poor example because there's just a few things. But let's say you want to do docx, you only want to do the first page, and you want to go ahead and export. So when you export it, it's going to ask you if you want it in the original format, which is the page breaks that you currently have, or if you want to reformat it. And when you reformat that, what's going to happen is that it's going to and you'll see it put all of that on one page or on one line. Now, again, that's not ideal here, but when you open that in Word, and if there were multiple lines of text, what you don't want is the limitation of the size of the device, making it so that your line breaks are like all this big on the page. You want to go ahead and have that flowing text and then be able to do those breaks as you need to. And you can also do some basic editing here, but we're not going to go into all of that because that's just not really what this video is about. Now let's look at the pros and cons of this approach. So I must admit, it's not as elegant as a standard PDF hyperlinked solution planner that you might see in the other ones that we looked at. But what it does do is it's more easily customizable to someone who might have a different style or a different way of thinking about things. It's not to say that any one approach is better than the other, but for me, this works really well. And what it does, it also leverages the device I have. Some of these pros and cons are going to be subjective. Matter of fact, most of them are going to be subjective in that I use this device as a daily driver. I don't have anything else to use as far as I haven't bought the Remarkable. I haven't bought an Onyx device. I made a conscious decision to use this device. And what I try to do is I try to maximize what I can get out of it and how I can use it to its best advantage. So for me, these are the pros and the cons and the things I would like to see Rada and Supernote do in the future to make this even better. What are the pros? Well, you can link to any document. Now you can do that with the uh, other planners as a note as well. So some of these are going to overlap, smaller size files. Also, you have redundancy. You don't have to worry about everything being in one file and the possibility of that file becoming corrupted. At the same time, you also have the integrated calendar. There's also integrated emails, so and you can add up to 3 email accounts to your device. Now, I don't show that because there's a lot of private information in email, but you can do Gmail or you can do Outlook, and the integration is really good. Now, again, do I use that as a daily component? No. But if I'm in a meeting and I have my calendar and my email with me on this device, I more than likely don't have to pull out my phone or laptop unless there's a website I want to show or something that I really need that power for. What are some other pros here? Well, you have headings, text recognition, star marks, keywords, and you have, um, because of the text recognition again, searchable. You can also change up your templates, and you can create calendar events. Now that's a pretty good list of different things that you can do. And it really makes this a very usable and user-friendly device. You can also add more pages just with a quick swipe. Again, you can change up those templates, which is really nice to be able to do within one document. With the hyperlinked planners, you don't have a lot of that same flexibility, even if you turn it into a template. You also can customize your experience here so that you're not having to deal with the zooming problem. So I can write as large as I want here. And quite frankly, then, I could write really big. So I could write big, and then I could take the lasso tool and I could shrink that to make it make more sense. Now, I could do that on the other planners, but that's a lot of work when you're doing it on a large scale. So for me, it would be a little bit easier if I didn't have to worry about it. I can just create a new page and I can just keep going. And that's a lot easier than having to shrink this, but I can if I need to be able to do that. Let's talk about the cons. So, no multiple calendars. You can only use this with one calendar. That's a real problem, especially considering how busy we are and some of our activities are on the weekends. We may have multiple projects. We may have overlapping projects. It's really important to be able to have that kind of support. And I know they're working towards it, but it's not there yet. Again, on the calendar, no ability to link to anything. So, no linking on the calendar. And you can't write on the daily view. And one other thing that I did forget to mention over in the pros when it comes to this is that you can also view and create notes on the calendar. So you do, view, create notes on calendar. So it's really important to think about that. You can only view notes on the day they were created in the calendar. So this is both a plus and a minus, because this is only viewable on date created. Now, why would that be a con? What is the issue there? Well, let's say I want to get ahead. Say I've got 20 minutes at the end of my day and I want to go ahead and create all of my notes for tomorrow so that I can then, be ahead of the game and be able to say, okay, get in the next day, boom, open the file, go, boom, open the file, go. Or maybe I've got like 5 meetings back to back. That would be a really useful function. And maybe what they could do is allow you to use the link functionality for that in some way. But again, I like the seamless nature of it in the calendar. The problem is that it has to be viewed on that day. Now, if I could create them the day before and then just in the morning, real quick, open each one of those different ones and it shows on both days as a note that was created or accessed, problem solved. Now I could go ahead and go into each of those notes, edit them, and yes, they're going to show on 2 days. They're going to show when I created them and they're going to show when I last accessed them, but that at least gives me some flexibility to be able to do some different things. Not being able to add the links on the calendar on both the daily and the hourly view is kind of important because let's say that you want to be able to, in the meeting, you've taken notes or you're just having a discussion and you want to be able to go back and forth really quickly and you're on that hourly view and you're like, okay, here's what I have, here's what's in this meeting. I want to be able to click on the agenda or I want to be able to click on a document that, we're kind of co-authoring or working on and see it. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for hanging in there with me. I really appreciate you being, engaged and having fun with me and going through this. As you can see, there are a lot of pros, a lot of cons to all three ways of talking through this. This is my personal favorite. I just have to admit, I enjoy the Supernote as the platform. I like the productivity it gives me. Is it the perfect device? For me, right now at this moment, yes. I'm waiting on that larger device. Hopefully that'll come out next year. And then I really think I'll have found the device that best fits my needs. But the A5X really does do a lot. Now, that's not saying that, some new cool technology couldn't come out that I really fall in love with. But I like the balance between the digital world I live in on a daily basis as a designer and a technologist and um, a scholar and a writer, all these things that I do, and a teacher. This device kind of helps me balance that to being able to be as distraction free as possible. And when I say distraction free, I don't mean that, I don't have any impulse control, but it's just easier to concentrate without the constant harangue of notifications or even multiple apps on a device. I think the multiple apps is even the bigger issue. Not so much the notifications, you can turn those off. But in this case, the flexibility that I get from the Supernote with the calendar feature mixed with the notes and even the email, which I didn't demonstrate but is really important to what I do, and being able to use documents. Well, thank you very much again. Please like and subscribe. Uh, I do this because I hope it helps, and I hope it, makes an impact and can help you get organized and do things and think about things a different way. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them down below. They'll really help me out. And like I said, if you like and subscribe and tell all your friends and neighbors about the channel, I'd love to hear more about what you want to see and what you want to do moving forward. And until next time, have a great day.